let's talk about oil paints in two different avenues. Brands, tried and true to me and their different elements, and then my palette, how I've landed on it, what the colors do for me, and what I would be looking for in adding new colors to that palette. So first, brands. There are a handful of brands out there. I feel as if I have tried almost all of them. So we have Rembrandt, we have Gamblin, we have Winsor & Newton, we have Old Holland, Vasari, Michael Harding, Blue Ridge Oil Colors, and then you have the Gamblins of the world, which apparently I didn't get that. No, yes, I did get Gamblin out. And then you have the student grades of each of those brands. Not all of those brands have student grades, but Winsor & Newton, you'll find a Winton brand. That is student grade, meaning they put a lot of fillers in to create the pigment instead of actual pigment. So you'll actually find that these bottles or tubes of paint are a lot lighter than their counterpart that is not student grade. It's because the fillers they put in are lighter than pigment. So these won't have as strong tinting strength. You won't be able to do the same things that you can do with professional grade paint. So do yourself a favor, invest in professional grade paint. So between all of these brands, there's different elements to each. Some are creamier, some are thicker. Old Holland and Gamblin tend to be thicker. I would want to use a medium to help the paint glide and mix a little bit more easily. On the other hand, you have Rembrandt, which is probably the creamiest. It is, for me, the one that I can use the least amount of medium, which I'm always looking to achieve my effects with the least amount of medium. And then in between there, you have these other four that are very creamy, have very strong tinting strength. Michael Harding has different series. So on every bottle or on every tube, there'll be a series number. And as you go series 1, 2, 3, 4, they will become more expensive because it will be a higher cost to the pigment. So a series 4 pigment, they might even have series 5 and 6, I'm not totally sure. A series 5 or 6 or the higher series would be like a lapis lazuli blue. They're actually using the precious stone lapis lazuli to create the blue. So it's going to be more expensive. Whereas a series 1 would be something like this yellow lake. It's not a cadmium. So the materials they're using cost less, so the tube costs less. Every brand that I'm aware of has that sort of series on it, depending on what the pigment is. So there are some that are more budget friendly and some that are less budget friendly. Of course, the series, you'll be able to find your budget by following those series. Maybe a cadmium isn't within your budget at this time. Then you could do like a yellow lake, or Rembrandt has quite a few cadmium alternatives. Vasari and Michael Harding would probably be your most creme de la creme brands. All right, so let's talk a little bit about my palette, how I've landed on it, and how I use it. So I have a split primary palette, which means I have, of most colors, 2 different types of each color, one that leans cooler and one that leans warmer. That's called a split primary. I first came into contact with this palette when I was taking workshops, and Michelle Dunaway actually was the one that first introduced me to this idea of split primary. I did not know what that meant, having a warm and cool version of the colors, but I really liked the effects I could achieve with this palette, which I'm about to outline for you. And only in recent years have I really started to, with a further understanding of color temperature, really use the palette to its fullest. So this is my palette as it stands today. I will have a titanium white, of course, and then I'll have a cadmium lemon and a cadmium yellow medium. That would be the cool yellow, cad lemon, and then a warm yellow, cad medium. Then I have a cadmium red and an alizarin crimson. That's again a warm and a cool red. I also like to have Rossiana on my palette. It's a transparent version of yellow ochre, so I can warm up deep value mixtures without introducing white to them because it is more transparent. which is another thing to pay attention to on your tubes of paint, the transparency. Every tube will have a little square somewhere on it, and on Rembrandt it's on the front, on Winsor & Newton it's on the back. It will either be filled in totally black, which means it's opaque, there's white mixed into this tube of paint, or it will have a line through it saying semi-transparent, or it will be just a white filled in square. That means it is transparent. I like to have that raw sienna on my palette for just that reason, having a transparent deep warm. Then I have a special color, Amethyst by Michael Harding. It's a beautiful, rich purple. I don't have right now a warm and a cool purple. I'm kind of interested in adding that. That's one thing that I would be interested in. I'm doing a little research about how to add a cool purple because I'm just really enjoying purple these days. So then I come over and I have transparent oxide red, raw umber, and burnt umber, which are a warm and cool version of that sort of umber dark brown tone. The burnt umber being the red and the raw umber being more of that blue, warm and cool brown. Sometimes I have ivory black on my palette, sometimes I don't. I really enjoy that color. It's not I don't have a warm and cool version of it. Not every color do I have warm and cool, but it comes and goes. Then I have King's Blue and Ultramarine Blue. Those are very different blues. One has a lot of white mixed into it. The King's Blue is a very high value blue. I love it for adding into skin tone. And then the ultramarine, of course, is, everyone knows ultramarine. And then I have Viridian and Sap Green. So again, a cool and a warm green. This palette has served me very, very well. It feels extremely versatile. I've had my time working through very limited palettes when I first started painting. If you struggle with color, I really struggled with color harmony in my first couple years of painting. I was really needing to focus on value, and the colors were just so overwhelming to me. It was way too much to keep track of. And I got the advice to work with a limited palette. So my palette now is over 14 colors. That's a lot of colors. I was not in a place that I could manage that many colors. So I, for many months, worked with a limited palette. And there's a couple different you can work with, and you can really create your own at any time just through experimentation, and I encourage you to do that. These were the palettes that I used. I used the Zorn palette for several months just to limit my color options so I could really focus on value. That Zorn palette is ultramarine black, ivory black, yellow ochre, cadmium red, and white. And you mix the cadmium red and the yellow ochre together to make your orange. You make a purple with the black and the red, and then you make a green with the black and the yellow. Sometimes people would add in Viridian because in a lot of the outdoor paintings that Zorn painted, it's very clear that he did have a Viridian on his palette. I added that in sometimes when I was feeling like I had a little bit more in control. That palette really served me very well. Another limited palette I love is transparent oxide red, ultramarine blue, and white. Just those three pigments. You have a warm and a cool with the transparent oxide red and the ultramarine, and you can create a painting that almost feels like it is a full palette painting if you're paying attention to those warm and cools and keeping your values in line. I'm looking to add, as I said, a couple more purples, and I just recently learned something so exciting about yellow that I want to incorporate into my paintings. So I think I'm going to be looking to add a cadmium orange on there as well, and potentially a transparent oxide brown, which I know I have a tube of in my paint storage, so I'm going to go find it and add that, and I'm going to be experimenting. These palettes are always up to you about what colors you put on them, and if you start to become bored and feel like you need more of a challenge, I would encourage you to change out a color and just start experimenting and asking, what can this do for me? I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Please let me know what your favorite colors are, what I should think about adding to my palette and experimenting with. Twice a month, I live stream my painting process working with a live model on YouTube to the artist community, the broadcasting brushers, and the broadcasting brushers get to see how I use these pigments I've described today, and every mixture I make from the first brush stroke on the canvas to the last at the end of the 3 hours. It is such a blast. If you're looking for more time painting from life or artistic community, or you're just brand new to painting and want to see a demonstration of how a portrait begins and finishes, consider painting with me at Broadcasting Brushers. I hope to see you there.